mini crisis. Well, I've had a mini crisis.
Oh, you've never seen anything like it. Go on, admit.
All right, I confess. Right, one of them everywhere. I just moved it and it jumped out of the pot. Just literally 5 minutes ago.
5 minutes ago. Expletives. Thought she'd been murdered or something.
I've got every swear word in my vocabulary out of my system now. And the floor's quite sticky, so I've got to keep moving, otherwise it might stick to the floor.
Which could be funny.
So cheers.
Cheers.
Hi Annette. Hi Debbie.
Gosh, you girls are really on the ball.
I've got your parcel all wrapped, Debbie, waiting to go today.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. It's sitting there.
There might be a little surprise in there for you too.
Ooh, like surprises.
Right, so while we're on surprises,
Last week's
prizes.
Is going to receive those. It could be you.
Oh,
Who is it?
it's Gail Wheatley.
Congratulations,
Well done,
Gail.
Now, I
Fantastic.
have never met Gail, but Gail has followed me for a very, very long time and
lovely.
always sends me lovely messages. She's a lovely, lovely lady with a lovely daughter. They're a team act. So
Well
I'm really, really
deserved
happy
then.
about that.
Yeah.
Well done, Gail.
Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, you better message me. Just PM me for ease sake your address, and then I'll where you want it to go, and I'll get it off to you, and I'll get Claire to get the salt wash off to you. Well done.
What are we giving away this week?
What are we giving away? Well, this week, you remember last week I was in a right mood because the chalk paint hadn't arrived, and it was due to arrive, and then it arrived, and then we had the live, and I was running between the live in the evening and my shed where we were working on getting it all displayed, prepared and sorted, and chaos. It's arrived. It's in. It's amazing. So it's very chic stuff. I would love to post out some paint to you guys, but obviously a lot of you as followers are abroad, and I really don't know how it would cope with shipping.
Hi.
Haven't quite got that far yet. I want to feel really confident with shipping within the UK. So if someone in the UK won, I would happily ship you some paint. But because I can't guarantee that, because it's not fixed. It's not fixed.
No, God no.
It genuinely is going in. So we have to have stuff that's postable. So Fairy Chic, upside down, chalk paint brush, and Fairy Chic gold metallic-y wax, which I'm going to be using today on my project. So I thought that was appropriate. So that's in the drawer. All you got to do is share it, share this to your Facebook page, and write shared in the comments. That's it.
We have a very funny comment here from Heike. She said, "Hi ladies, on the highway, hubby driving, me watching till we get to the border." Then she's going to catch up with us tonight. Thank you for making the effort. It's fantastic.
We get the coolest stories on it. People that are setting their alarms and getting up at the crack of dawn, and I would just never do that.
People over in the States particularly, people are setting their alarms so that they can get up. People are tuning in with their morning coffee. Madness, it's lovely.
This reminds me of last night. My daughter has been saying every day, because she goes to school, she goes to grammar school, and it's quite a long way from where we live. And so she's got to get up really early. And she says every day to my hubby, not me obviously, because she knows, to him, "Are you going to give me a lift to school?" And almost every day he says, "No, I've got to go work in the opposite direction," or whatever. But very occasionally he's got a job in her direction, so he says, "I'll drop her off." So, which means she keeps asking. So she asked last night, "Are you going to take me to school?" Because it gives her an extra half hour in bed. And he said, as I'm sitting there with my mouth open, "Yeah, at least it will get me up." And I said, "What? You'll never hear those words leave my mouth. Never."
No.
"At least that would get me up. Not unless it was a 3 o'clock start or something, but not a 7 o'clock start."
7?
So, yeah, he got up, walked off this morning. So, yeah,
Fantastic.
Life is good. And I actually got, for the first time in a very long time, the opportunity to get dressed without a dog jumping around me. I just felt really chilled by the time I came to work today. It was like brilliant. Anyway, enough of
That's
that.
why she's so bubbly.
Yeah.
All right, back to business. What are you doing?
Well, you guys, we had a play
Lovely
date
scene,
yesterday,
this is
me and
lovely.
Amanda.
We
had a fun day.
We had a really good fun day.
And I'm just going to try and show you some close-ups of this. It's got all sorts going on. It's got some moulding. This picture in the middle is an image transfer. And there's some IOD stamps going on there. And there's some
everything.
crackle
And
going on there.
Beautiful.
I mean, I really wanted to show you what you can do with my paints this week, because I worked very hard when I was coming up with the range on coming up with colours that not only worked really well in their own right for beginners that just want a plain colour piece, or not even beginners, but anyone who just wants a plain colour, but also for people that want to do more creative stuff with layers and colours that go.
Colours work beautifully together. You can really build up a palette of colours that work so well together.
So I found this picture. I'm going to tell you a little bit about these ladies in a bit. These are called the Dolly Sisters. And I really like it, and I think you can probably see there's some cocoa colours in there, there's some kind of linen-y colours, there's some yellow, but there's a pink in there, a dusky pink in there as well. And I wanted to use all of those colours for my... I'm a bit dangerous.
You are a bit dangerous with those today.
So, look at these colours together.
See, particularly on the bottom.
Yeah.
There.
Can you see? They're all going to just go great. And I think I've actually got another linen-y one as well. These ones haven't got stickers on, but the same. Can you see all the colours are just all going to work really well together, and that's what's happened on this piece. So that's what I'm going to do, is show you how I create that
Look
piece.
at these jars though, these jars.
They're cute, aren't they? They're wide-necked, and if you get the bigger sizes, you get a free sticker.
Thank you, Annette.
Everyone's
loving them. Michelle, hi. I haven't seen you for ages. Hello.
Yeah.
Right. So, where are you up to?
Well, I have prepped. All this is a bit of plywood, like such. This is the same. I've made some moulds using a IOD mould with resin and stuck them in place. And I have painted my background with my white chalk paint, and I've done one coat everywhere and 2 coats just in this section where I'm going to be doing my image transfer.
Yeah, because you need that to be white.
I need that to be solid white.
Yeah.
So before I start, that's needle. Before I start, come on, this is brilliant.
Right.
I've never seen this done before. It's brilliant.
I have been given this fabulous A-board very kindly, and I want to make a sign for myself. So what I've done is I've marked off the area that I want to use, because I want to keep some of this original background, because you might not be able to see it very well there, but it's very chippy. Lots of old paint chipping off, and you know I like my chippy. Now what I wanted to do some raised stencils.
So cool.
And you may have come across raised stencils before, in so much that you've got your stencil, you've got your texture paste. There's many brands of these. This is just one I've particularly used because I can get it locally. And you apply that. I know Paula tends to use a credit card, I use a knife, and you just apply it over the top, and once it comes off, you take your stencil away, you've got a raised texture stencil. Okay, so I wanted to do that. Now the problem with that comes that you have, doing letters particularly, you can only do one at a time because you've got to let that dry.
There aren't any names called A, B, C, D.
No, there aren't, not generally, unless you wanted the solid alphabet. So yeah, I'd have to do the M, and then I'd have to wait for that to dry, then I'd have to go back in and do the A, and it would take forever.
Yeah.
So a good trick to get around that is to do it first onto a piece of tissue paper. You can use the back of a napkin, that works fine. This is just tissue paper that we have in Paula's shop here to wrap. And I find it easier just to take it into squares, apply your raised stencil here, and then you can just let that dry, and you can just get on with the next one then, okay? Once they're all dry, because I did these yesterday, once they're all dry, you can just cut out around your shape, and then glue it into place. As long as they're glued quite firmly, you're all right. PVA glue, yeah.
It doesn't even matter if it sticks up a little bit, because you're going to be painting over it.
You're going to be painting over it, and it's a raised stencil.
It's brilliant. I've never seen it done before. And can you imagine if you had a really complicated stencil that you wanted to work round edges or over drawers, and you know, you could do exactly that and then smooth it
apply
around
it.
rather than use the really stiff stencil and try and
manoeuvre it.
fart arse around.
Yeah, because that doesn't work.
It's my technical term today.
That
Fart arse.
that technique does not work. So this is a way around.
We'd love to see you, Michelle. Come down. Was that picture from the graphic? No, it wasn't. I am a member of the image transfer
Thanks, Hank.
group on Facebook, which is really cool. They've got some good videos on there on image transfer, and it was their main image, and I really liked it, and I researched it and I found it, and it is on Google, but I have put a picture of it in the paint forum. And
Yeah, Georgia, that's another way.
So you'll be able to download it and use it yourself. I'll put it in as an actual file tonight. Okay, so you'll be able to get that if you want to use it. These two.
Interesting ladies.
Yeah, they are. They're from the 1920s. They're called the Dolly sisters. They're identical twins, and they came to the US and had a bit of a riotous life. Really, they really liked the high life. They really liked lots of money. They did lots of gambling, lots and lots of gambling, and they had quite a lot of associations with quite a lot of famous.
They like
People,
wealthy men.
yeah, and they used that to their full advantage.
Yes.
And so they were kind of on fully, what's the word?
The folie beigeur.
Yes. Dancing girls. They didn't really have an awful lot of talent, but they did lots of dancing.
And the fact that they were identical twins,
and
you know.
they kind of were famous for
Very
almost
famous.
dressing up rather than dressing down. They weren't all scanty. They were posh, and one of them
enjoyed
gambled
the money,
so
didn't they?
much money that she spent all of her winnings on jewellery, and at one point it was noticed that she had jewellery all the way up to her elbow. And every piece was worth millions, and then every hand was adorned. But in the end they lost it all. One killed herself, one tried to kill herself. It was all a bit disastrous.
Yes, that's right.
What?
Yeah, Debbie said Mr. Selfridge.
That's it.
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah,
Selfridge. That's it. He funded a lot of their gambling. Yeah. But I really love the picture. I really like this era. I like the music. I just like, it's just as cool, and I really like the colours. So I've printed this off on my inkjet printer weeks ago, but as long as you do it the night before, it should be fine. Lots of debate on this whole image transfer.
Yeah.
And for me, image transfer works on my inkjet printer. I've got Kodak and it works. Some people have said it doesn't work at all. And if it doesn't work at all, your only option is to go and get a laser print at the printer.
Yeah.
Your only option. I'm just lucky. My printer was about £30. I got it second hand. So
Oh, that's not much at all.
no, and it's got the cheapest ink ever, which is why we bought it.
I've got
So
to
it's
invest
kind
in
of
one, 'cause
worth the
mine's
investment
broken.
for 30 quid to be able to do image transfer from home and print off whatever you want whenever you want. I think it's probably worth it. So what I'm doing is tearing round, because I don't want the white edge, my image.
Now, you'll have to remind me of these colours, because I'm yet to get used to these marvellous fairy names. So what colours
This
am
one's
I?
Dima.
Dima?
Yeah, Dima. It's like a slaty grey blue. And this one is Miraja, who's the Queen of the Sea. And she's my favourite fairy picture, actually.
Slightly more turquoisey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm using both of these colours. I'm going to be blending them together, because I just think they work beautifully. What I'm trying to do is, if anyone's been over to my page and they've seen the header banner, it's a piece of old, it's part of an old door, and it's the most lovely grunged back peeling blue paint, and I'm just trying to sort of replicate that on here. So using both the colours, I've then also put on a layer of crackle, fairy chic crackle. Have we got some over there? Yeah, so we're geared up for crackle as well. So I put some crackle on as well, and I'm going to go in now with my second layer of paints, and that crackle will start to come through.
So
you've got your image
I've
ready.
got my second bottle of matte finish of the day. It's a good job.
Don't drop
Good job it's my own product. I can just chuck it around now. Right.
Not ideal.
This is what I use for image transfer. I'm going to put this to one side so hopefully you can see. Now I have little rules in life. I don't know why, but I do. So this is my image transfer rule. I do a rule of 3. So I use quite a big brush and I sop up wet the image first. So the idea in my head logically is that I'm trying to loosen up the ink on the picture that's been dried for quite a while now. So I'm getting it really quite wet. Then number 2, I go into my solid white bit and again make it really wet. This dries clear, so it doesn't matter anyway, but I want it wet. The bigger the piece, the harder it is, because finishing this matte finish, it dries quickly, so you've got to work quickly. Now, third, I go back, because this paper is already soaking up some of the matte finish. So I go back in, right, so that's it, 3. So now while it's still all absolutely dripping wet, I place it where I want it, on my picture. So there we go. Now in an ideal world, you then leave this, you smooth it all out and you leave it overnight to dry before you do anything else with it. But I've got other stuff to get on with, so I am going to leave it to dry for a bit. But you don't put finishing cream on the top, that would be disastrous.
Oh gosh, yes.
I have had people do that.
In
workshops,
to be fair, I've done it myself.
And I've had to shout at them.
I have done it myself.
Move away! Right, lid on, no, lid on. No more on the blooming floor, look. Can I do a tacky dance?
No, actually I think it's
not
come,
too
most
bad.
of it's come
You
up.
cleaned it up quite good.
I wasn't put on this vertically, but I've done a damn fine job. Sorry, I'm just washing out my paintbrush.
Right, so my next really fun bit is to get some of this texture on, this colour. Now what I do, can you see it? If I put it down, I think you'll be able to see just enough. I'm going to prop it up, because if I have too much gravity on my side it will get a bit messy. That should be fine. So I use the colours that I've chosen, like so. So I've got my pot and I'm just going to pour little dabs, sometimes bigger dabs, in different places on my canvas. I'm going to call this my canvas, like that. And then I'm going to go in with another colour, like this one. It's a little bit thinner in consistency, so I've got to be careful. And if necessary, I can just use a brush. This is like one of those, it's not going to come and then it's all going to come. So I'm just going to use a brush for now. You see? So there's no rhyme or reason.
So now this is a technique that I've never used before, so I was quite excited to see you using it yesterday.
Come out good, didn't it? Now, this is how I used to start all my mixed media paintings, now, to create the background. And everyone sort of, mixed media, what does it mean? But I do lots of work with mixed media. I mean, what I did last week with all of the cogs stuck on everything, that was mixed media. That's a form of mixed media. So mixed media is just using different mediums together.
I think it
layering and
it sounds more technical than it
is.
Yeah.
It is just about playing, which is just my thing. So
can I just mention with the crackle, and this applies to any crackle paste you use, when you go in with your top coat, so you've put on your first coat, you've put on your crackle, all of that is dry. When you come in with your top coat, which I've just done, you need to apply it quite thickly and you don't want to overwork it, okay? It needs to sit there and then it needs to dry and it needs to let the crackle come through. So don't start sort of overplaying it, don't start messing it about. You really want to just let it sit. Already the crackle is coming through and it's looking good.
yeah, I use a hairdryer to speed that up.
Yes.
While I do it, and I apply crackle, the top coat with sponge, so that I don't overwork it, because it gives a different effect with a brush to a sponge, and we'll be able to show you both, because if you've used a brush,
yeah,
I'm going to be using a sponge. So we'll see.
Now I would dry this off with a hairdryer, but it's going to get very noisy, so I'm just going to let that sit and dry for a little bit. Paula's got lots going on to keep you
I'm at
entertained.
this messy stage now, so I've got my famous card.
This is the bit that really intrigued me yesterday.
So I've literally got blobs everywhere, and now I'm not really trying to be very careful with it. I am just spreading it around. Up to
Hi
the
Louise, hi Jennifer. So it's just moving all those colours into each other.
In different directions. And I've got too much paint, and I'll have to scrape some of the excess off, which is fine because I'll be able to use the excess later. Hence my block. This is the fun bit.
I'm just going to do a quick close-up of the one you did yesterday so that people can see how that effect really starts to work and see how those colours are all sort of blended, kind of almost mashed into each other. They just merge into each other.
Because I've got crackle to come on top, so some of the areas will be crackled. But this is just the first stage. It gives me an idea of if the colours are working or not.
Yeah, Louise, finally here. Phew. Yeah, do you know what I'm going to do, Heike? I'm going to take the camera off and bring it closer to Paula, because mine has to dry and hers is a really interesting technique. Okay, we don't normally mess around with the camera, but I think today, as long as I don't touch anything I'm not supposed to touch. See, the camera is set. Oops. So it's a bit fiddly. Bear with me. Okay, right. Also, I can't see what you can see because I'm behind the camera. So hopefully, Paula, can you have a quick look at the camera angle?
Yep.
Yeah, are we getting what we want?
Go in a bit more. So now I'm actually scraping back and scraping off, so you've even got some of the white underneath, can you see? And I'm just using this bit of spare. I love it. I love this pink as well, look at it.
That pink is working so well with those browns.
I know.
Who would have thought? Well, you would have. That's why you chose it.
I spent a lot of time thinking about what palettes I wanted. It's very selfish having your own pick. I don't care what you want, it's what I want. But I'm hoping that when you see what I want, you'll want it too. Look at that.
That's looking nice.
It is.
I really like the bits as well where you've pulled everything back and it's sort of exposing.
Yeah, it's scraped.
And the texture it's giving is lovely.
But I even like the lines because it kind of looks like an old poster-ish that's been scrumpled up.
Right.
You know, right, so I'm going to just, obviously I can't use the scraping tool for my moulds, so I'll have to use a brush for that, but that's the general gist. And I've got a lot of loose paint here, but I am going to be using it, it's not going to be wasted.
So if we can just see what you're doing over on the moulds.
So I want a whole mix of colours. I'm going to be using, once I've finished, the last stage is this lovely little gold wax that you've got up for grabs this week, just to highlight, but I use it through the whole picture. It gives a really nice ageing.
Now I was watching Paula applying that yesterday, and I love working with waxes, and these coloured waxes are just to die for.
No, it really aged it well, didn't it?
Yeah,
it was great. So I'm just trying to use some of the excess paint that I've got. No point in wasting it.
Okay. I'm going to put the camera back up now because I really want to see who's on and what comments and questions we've got going on. Bear with me, everybody, while I get you back up there. Hopefully I've got us. Yeah, it does look amazing, doesn't it? Not me, sorry. I think I've got us back to where we should be. Okie doke.
Can you hear my hubby talking next door? Because I can. And he's on strict instructions.
He's going to get told off.
Yeah, he's on strict instructions. You don't know how loud he is. Right.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm just going to have a quick blast with the hairdryer.
Yeah.
Okay, just to get this paint drying off. It will be noisy. If you hate it,
could do a little
just let us know.
Could do a a little dance.
Could do a little, yeah, Paula can entertain you with a little dance. If you me? No, you don't want to see me dance. Okay, I won't have it on the highest setting. I think that will really blow you.
This is a problem for trying. So let's see if I can show you close up. Looks a bit of a flipping mess, but the colours are just really coming out. And can you see that the image is, you can almost see that it's starting to come through, it's seeping through the paper. So it needs drying off, but I think it's going to look really cool when I get the image off. Again, I've got a drying problem because I've got to dry it really. So that looks so cool. Go on, go for it. We'll do a little. No. It's really bad. I think we're going to need some entertainment in for next week.
Oh, steady on. Right, still a bit tacky, but it's a lot drier than it was.
Right, and I'm going to use your hot gum because this will be really quick. And it's not quite as noisy.
Not quite as noisy, no. You'll still hear it, unfortunately, but it's not quite as bad. Let's see who we've got. Oh, my spokes, there we go. Hi, Debbie Roberts.
Oh, hi Debbie, I haven't seen you for a while. Debbie's a local.
Oh, Debbie's a local.
Debbie's got a pitch at Molly's Den.
Oh, right, okay. Do you know, I haven't been down there for ages, Debbie. I'll have to pop down there.
Molly's Den is where we started off. We follow each other around, us Molly's Den crowd. Molly's Den in the UK is like this sort of antique, I guess you'd call it warehouse really, where you rent out a space. So in America you call it a booth, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, you rent out a space and you can put in it what you like. And some of them look like you literally walk past them and just chucks the entire contents of your bin into it.
Yeah.
They do, yeah, they do. You walk straight past them, and yet some people spend hours rummaging in those kind. They went to Scotland seeing us.
Right.
Temporarily went off, someone was trying to ring me. Right. This is really pretty dry.
I'm going to go back over now with my stencil because I want to get the name in white, which
we're done with
I want
noise.
to organise myself with.
So, this is the fun bit. This is where you get the... Now, as I said, if you haven't done it before, I really would recommend leaving it overnight. But, you know, I'm not really known for my patience.
Really? It's a funny thing.
It might go disastrously wrong and I might have to sort of recreate for next week, but let's have a go. So all I've got is water, and I just put my fingers into the water and rub. Now, I'm going to put this upright so hopefully you get a chance of seeing it. And it sort of creates the, I don't know what you call those, little rolls of paper that actually seem to help gather. A bit like when you're trying to peel blue tack off a wall. If you use existing blue tack, it sort of rolls up easier. Now you can definitely do this harder if you've got a laser print. Now I've just that little bit there has rubbed off a bit of the paper, so I'm stopping, rubbing over that bit.
Sorry, can I finish a bit of your white?
Yep.
Thank you. Wasn't prepared.
I've got a bubble here, so I'm not sure that's going to come out there. What I did on the last picture that I've shown you is I'm fully expecting to go back in and having to paint some of it in. That's fully part of, if you expect it to come out perfect, you are going to be disappointed. Just don't.
Yeah, but it's the imperfections make it. Yeah.
And sometimes the imperfections can just be left, and sometimes the imperfections have to be painted back in because they're just the crucial bit, the face or something. You don't want to wipe off the whole face, do you? But I'm sure you can start to see. I'll show you close up. Now, there's a bit just there that's rubbed away. So I may or may not have to touch that up, but it is definitely starting to reveal, and I'm obviously not going to go back over that bit. I'm going to be careful around that bit. So I'm going to keep going. See, the bigger the picture, the longer it takes.
Now, I am having to adjust this slightly as I go, because where I've cut out the letters, or should I say lovely Liz cut out the letters, where I've then stuck them on, they have moved slightly from the original setting, so therefore I'm having to move the stencil accordingly.
Oh, the dolly girls have come, look. Some dollies.
Oh, the dollies!
There they are.
They're dollying.
They've arrived.
I think I need a bit more white.
I just love this faded old look as well.
I do.
And the pink in
It
it.
looks old and
It's very hard. We were having this chat, me and Amanda, earlier about, because the picture that I did yesterday, I love it. And it took me most of my working day playing on it, and it's really hard to then know how to price such a thing, because people just don't want to pay for hours and hours of labour, and I'm half considering just taking it home and having it.
yes.
Because when you've worked,
Well, you could
so
donate
long,
it to me.
I could donate it to you.
You could be super
You kind of
kind.
want someone to have it that would really appreciate it, don't you?
Yes.
Not just sort of want to pay 20, 30 quid for it. And that's how I feel about it.
Okay, so you can see the M's come up pretty well.
I need to see what you're doing.
Well, this is going to be just a lot of faffing about by me, as usual.
How are you going to seal that? Because that's got to go outdoors.
How am I going to seal it? Good question. I will use a finishing coat over the top,
I'm thinking
as well as my
possibly matte,
waxes.
like yacht varnish or something to make it really weatherproof.
I have got something like that. But
I would love somebody's advice on this, because I did my sign outside with outdoor clear varnish. That's what it said, and it's not clear. It's yellow. It's bright flipping yellow, and I had a beautiful white design that looks now like I've smoked 100 cigarettes over it. It's really drippy as well. It's all gone. It's nasty. I want a clear outdoor strong protective varnish. So if anyone knows
any
of one in the
recommendations?
UK, please tell me. Oh, the other thing I was going to ask on this live, because somebody asked yesterday, it'd be really great if you could write a great big list, perhaps even while we're on, what time it is where you are now.
Yes, please.
And where you are, whether you're east, north, west, US, where you're watching it from, what time it is if you are live and watching this as we're playing it, because everybody wants to know what time 1 PM is
all over the place.
All over the place. So
we have no clue.
I don't know. It's 1 PM here when we start. So if you can tell us what 1 PM is where you are, that would be really great for next week. I could put up a table.
Right. This is going to take me forever. So I'm actually going to go in, I think, and paint with a paintbrush, rather than just having to move things around.
Do you want? I've got a good paintbrush.
Oh, good paintbrush. Well, that looks like a good paintbrush. Thank you. Yeah, that'll do nicely.
It's quite a nice paintbrush. Oh, look at my
looking sassy.
They are sassy. That's a good word.
I like sassy.
I'd like to be sassy.
You're sassy.
What would I have to do to achieve sassy?
Don't
Do I
know.
have to wear a frock?
No.
I can't do that.
No.
I don't wear frocks.
You can be a frock-free sassy.
Do you know, I've even got, I refuse to
Your
call it
boots
a frock. I've got something
are
that's
sassy.
down. Yeah. I've got a dress that's, it's not a dress. I tell everyone it's a long top. And then I wear leggings. Because it's not a dress, it's a long top. Okay?
Very long.
I've never got on my dresses.
I like a dress.
Do you?
Yeah.
No. Don't like my legs.
Oh, you see, I've got good legs. Shame about the rest of me, but I've got good
Well,
legs.
everyone, I think you need to shout for a bit of proof there. So she's got good legs.
I have got good legs. And I know it.
Yeah, we got customers
Not bad,
looking
are they?
now for the legs.
Auntie Liz is giving me her best Auntie Liz look.
I'm getting carried away and tearing some splotches off. But
Yeah, don't rush it. That's the thing, isn't it?
and know when to stop, because you're never going to get all of the back off at all. It will still look a bit faded. So once I've got most of it off, I use the matte finish and it pops the colour back out.
Yeah, it does. And you'll be really surprised.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because if I was to just leave that now, it would gradually dry, because it's still quite wet. It would gradually dry and gradually look more and more faded.
Oh, we're getting some times in. There's loads. I've missed lots of them.
Great.
But
Thank you so much.
for example, Nashville, 7:35 in the morning.
Oh my
Why
goodness.
are you out
What
of
is
bed?
wrong with you? Go back to bed. Go back to bed. We're on later. For goodness.
Oh, Fiona sent us a link to a world's clock.
Oh, thank you.
That'll help.
Somebody said that you might know Fiona, and I tried to tag you in on the post last night, but it didn't happen anyway. But thank you. We'll use that. It's something I need to do. It's something that you and me, Fiona, could share, because Fiona does lots of live videos as well that everyone's joining in on, and they're great too. So I'm sure it'd be a useful tool for both of us. Now Fiona's been doing. I'm not sure if you saw it, some slide decal. My God, nightmare.
No, you told me, and I was going to
Nightmare.
try and catch up with it yesterday.
Yeah,
I
nightmare.
didn't.
Not Fiona's, just the slide decals in general. The people that do them on videos on YouTube, the ones that I've seen, make it look like it's unwrapping a sweet or something that easy, and it isn't. Because I put about 5. I mean, they're quite expensive as well. You buy like 10 in a pack or something. So 6 later in the bin, project thrown across the table. Yeah,
What a
I had
waste.
got the right temper tantrum about the whole thing. That time, Andrea had to come in and rescue me.
I would have lost the plot.
Because I printed
And
off
cried.
some lovely Alice in Wonderland images, and I had some plain white plates and jugs and things, and I was going to do these slide decals on them, because you can bake them and then you can actually use them, put them in dishwashers, everything. They're great.
Oh.
They look amazing when they work, with big emphasis on the when. And I came to the conclusion they really weren't worth how stressed it was making me feel.
Not if you had to throw X amount away.
No, I know, and then you have to go and order more. That's what Fiona ended up having to do. She had to order more in to finish the project that she'd started. Well, that's no good, is it?
No good at all.
No good. But it did look good, what she finished with.
I'll catch up with those,
So,
Fiona.
yeah, we do. But I think...
Good morning from Maryland. What time is it there?
I think actually what I really like about us British videos is that we're prepared to show when it all goes wrong,
Yes.
and that it is a
it
learning
does.
curve, and then how we solve it, because I never know if it's going to go right. Quite often it turns out completely different, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect, so it is all part of the learning, Fiona, and good for you for having a go and showing us what can go wrong, because then we're prepared and not paranoid when it happens to us. So, my image is nearly off.
That was quick.
Yeah. at these edges because I'm going to paint over them anyway.
Well, this is much better with the paintbrush, thank you.
Right, so I'm going to just show you close up this cloudiness that I'm going to stop with because it is cloudy and there is still grains of paper on it. But I am going to stop and put the finishing stuff on. Just to
Finishing stuff?
finish it, matte finish. That's what it's called. Right, here we are, look. So, can you see that? It's still a bit cloudy, but look at that. At least the faces come out, and that's the good bit of it all. So, I'm now going to put the matte finish on, and then you will see, hopefully, how much stronger that image looks. Lid back off. Warning. For those of you who only just joined us, I managed to explode a whole bottle of this all over my workshop just before we started.
And you should have heard the language. Was not ladylike, Paula.
No.
At all.
I was practicing my expletives. It's good for one's health.
Yeah, certainly let it all out.
I did check the shop was clear first.
Did you really?
Well, maybe not. I don't think you did. Lid back on. Okay. Right. So, can you see? Does it look clearer now? Now you can see there are some areas that I've got holes in where I've just rubbed a bit too hard. But that's okay because once it's all dried, the finish that I've just put on, I'm going to go back in with a paintbrush and do some magic stuff. So while that's drying and happening, I'm going to be giving all of the outside that I've painted and dried and smeared around a layer of the crackle. And we might be almost there for time after that. Can somebody give us the time? Liz, got time?
I've got
Nearly 1:45.
Yeah.
oh yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a good layer of the crackle. Now, crackle is, for want of a better word, a crackly thing. It's difficult. Lots of people write in and say it all went wrong, nothing happened, it didn't work. I think doing crackle with a brush the first time is risky because you are too tempted to go back and forth. It's a natural instinct. However much you tell yourself you're only going once, you want to go back and perfect it. So I would say if you're starting out, that looks great, Amanda.
Thank
That's
you.
really great. If you're starting out, try crackle my way. And crackle is quite runny but gloopy. And my rule of thumb with applying this crackle is to put on as if you were like putting on gloss. So quite thick, not to the point of it like literally running down the, if it was horizontal, upright, but thick. If you put it on too thin, it won't crackle. So it's quite shiny. You can't really put on too much other than you don't want it to be dripping. So be generous with it, don't be stingy with it.
On that note about dripping, it is much easier to use it on a flat surface like Paula's doing.
Yeah.
I did mine on this, and you do have to be aware of drips. If you find a drip, just kind of knock it off with
Wash
your
it out, yeah.
your fingertips.
So really quite generous. There's no, you don't, some crackles claim that you have to do it in one direction and then put the paint on in another direction.
I've never followed that rule.
No, neither have I. This is, you just put this on any other
Slap it on.
direction. Okay, so don't slap it on and don't be afraid of it. It's going to work as long as you're generous with it.
And it is more about the top coat.
Yeah, but we're going to show you that. I've done quite a few videos on YouTube of this in close-up of actually applying crackle.
Yeah, you should catch those. They are
so
really.
they're much shorter to watch, so you don't have to sit around for hours. My short videos are in. My favourite catchphrase is, I don't know, I keep going, see you in a bit, see you in a bit. I don't know how that happens, but
Well, you've got the funky music to keep you entertained as
yes,
well.
and then I
Lucy.
fast forward bits. So They are worth a watch too, just to get sort of close up and fast recap, especially if you're going to have a go. You don't want to have to necessarily watch a whole hour all over again.
No, they're brilliant. I mean, I learnt a lot of the more decorative techniques from those videos. You know, it's one thing being able to paint, but you know, trying the different decorative techniques. And brilliant. It's
you will indeed see my disasters as well. We
Yes,
had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. I was back in my old shop days, mostly. I've done quite a few here, I suppose, but mostly I started them at the old shop with Andrea, and yeah, we had quite a lot of fun. Right, so I have poured that on. It's going to take some drying, and yet, so the next trick with Crackle Glaze is to make sure it's absolutely bone dry before you do anything else. And it won't look dry because it's shiny, so you have to touch it tentatively, and it shouldn't be tacky, it should be dry. So I could do that with a hairdryer, but that's just, we're not going to do that here today. So I'm going to wait for it to properly dry. So today we've covered obviously my scraping background affair and the image transfer, and you've seen that come off. And now we're preparing for the crackle and all the texture behind. And then I'm going to be coming in with, where have I put them? Where have I put them? The stamps.
Here.
Oh, you're on them.
I'm on them. Sorry. What are they doing in my way?
Yeah, so this is one of the new IOD letter stamps, and this is one of the old IOD letter stamps, which unfortunately is no longer available. But well, hopefully it will come back out again. Wink, wink, IOD, if you're listening. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to put a date on it. I'm going to use the letters randomly, and I think I decided, I thought long and hard with this. Should I try and come up with a phrase? I think it says birdie darling here, and I thought, should I put birdie darling? And I thought it would probably look a bit naff, so I've used the same letters, D-A-R, and then there's an L and an E, and then I've got B and an I there, so it kind of ties in with the letters that you can already see, which you probably wouldn't work out even to look, but I think it makes it look right. And I've done them in random different colours depending on where I was putting them, so that they would show up, because obviously cream wouldn't have showed up there. So that's worked quite well. The crackle is amazing on this. Can you see that corner? Now some of that is the natural crackle where I put the sponge on, and some of it is where I've used a bit of paper and twisted and pulled some of it back off while it's still wet. So you get different texture and effects doing that too. And then here, can you see we've got the gold that's up for grabs, but I've also used the gold all in around the image and into the cracks, and it's made it look all oldie worldy. Really cool, really like it. So that's kind of what we're going to be working on next week to finish off my bit of the project. And what have you got?
Right, well, I've got to a point, a lot of this is still quite wet, quite tacky, so it's hard to sort of go over it too much. But what I will do is just go over the lettering once more, because it's a bit patchy. When this is all dried off, I want to get in there and scrape a bit of this back, like you've seen me do on other pieces, because I really like this look really nice. Where it's coming off, you know, so I want that old look. So some of this, get it scraped back, then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to use a dry white brush. So I'm going to do some dry brushing.
I'll show you how to do that.
Yeah, we will show you how to do that, and that'll just give it sort of a slightly more woody effect as well, because I want these colours to sort of start blending in together. So that's going to happen. In an ideal world, we'd have the plank wood stamp to use, wouldn't we? Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when it comes in, which hopefully beginning of
October, guys, that's the last I've heard from the French distributor. So we have ordered a zillions.
Well, that's what I'm waiting on, because I want to go in and using those stamps. I don't know whether any of you've seen them online, but they are fantastic.
Yeah.
I want this to look like planks.
To create fake wood.
So that bit is going to have to wait. But when it's done, we can always get pictures over to you.
Yeah. And I hope you have a go at this amazing technique, because I'm going to have a go at this. I've never done it before, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it works.
I love it that we come together and you
fiddly.
teach me something.
I
every
know,
week.
and you
It's
teach
so
me.
cool. It's so
as
cool.
well.
It's so cool. Right, guys, we come to the end of another lovely week.
Don't forget
Up,
our
grabs,
freebies.
oh, here. Freebies.
Freebies.
Share the
Go
love.
and get it.
Share the love. We'll have a queue outside the door.
We
will. Right, lovely to see you. We will be on the watch party on the Paint Forum at 7 o'clock tonight. You can ask us any questions, and we
Do
will
join
come
us
back
there.
to you with the questions that you've asked today.
Yeah, because there's a lot we've missed.
Oh, one question just before we go. Someone asked me on the YouTube channel, where did you get that fantastic jumper you were wearing last week? The psychotic one.
Oh, the psychotic artist.
Yeah.
I'll try and find out where it's from because I got it. It popped up on Facebook, and I thought
she
that's
did one
me.
of those buys.
Yeah, it must have been after a couple of glasses of wine, and I thought, yeah, that's me. Got that ordered. It is somewhere over in the States.
When I do that, I get a size 10. And then
I won't tell you what size I ordered.
And I'm like, Georgia, you better have it.
I used to be a skinny girl, and I keep in my head I'm still a skinny girl, not a fat
Never mind.
bird. But I'll try and find out for you.
Yeah, and we'll put it on there. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Mine's empty. Oh.